Hi, this is Nacho Ferrer. This is the last session of the course on football analysis of the Brisbane Strikers. Let's talk about the analysis of the own game live on the field. One of the main risks in this sort of analysis is to focus on the process instead of the main purpose. In other words, giving the priority to the number of people involved in the process, to the technology that we have at disposal, to the graphics or the video clips that we will be using during the halftime talk, all of this over what it should be our only goal, to work out the key aspects that are having a big impact in the game and which will lead us to make decisions to help our team win the match. All the resources that we have just mentioned, the quantity of human resources, trending technologies, and also the analysis process that we put in place, all of that are ways to reach such outcome, but they are not the objective themselves and will be worth nothing if we aren't successful in identifying those key tactical aspects of the game. By the way, the decision-making process is a further and very important step, which is out of the analysis process that we are explaining in this course. Moving forward, this sort of analysis is indeed a combination of everything we have seen so far during the course. Our starting point is the analysis of the opposition in anticipation. We will also need to read the game live using a very similar method as when we analyze the game between any two teams. We will explain this a bit later. And many of the things that we will do afterwards in the post-analysis of the own team also apply during the game live. As I understand a football team, the head coach is in charge of the final decisions involving the team. Of course, he can delegate, but he must take full responsibility of the final decisions. Having said this, he needs to get the most out of the resources that he's got at disposal in order to get as much and as good information as possible. We have already talked about how emotions can affect our perception of what we see. The more eyes on the game we have, the best perception of the reality we will get. In order to organize our human resources the best way possible for this analysis process, here is my general advice. The assistant coach would be in charge of the scenarios of the game which take place far from the ball, normally BP8 and BPO8. The goalkeeper coach would be focused not only on our own goalkeeper, but also on other aspects of the game he might have been involved with during the previous analysis of the opposition. For example, the opposition's goalkeeper or the scenarios of the game connected with dead balls or with finishing. The analyst of the opposition team would collate the expected strategic plan from the opposition side with the actual reality, directly in coordination with the head coach and the assistant coach. If we are lucky to manage relevant data and statistics, then the analyst of the own team can keep track of this. With time, practice will allow us to read in the numbers the potential threats and opportunities. We will see some examples a bit later. Lastly, and if possible, we will need someone tagging the game live and providing the coaching staff with statistics and video images. As many of these people as possible should be in the stands instead of on the bench, obviously, provided that this is compatible with their other roles during the game. Any other people within the team staff can also have a role in this analysis process according to their capacities and to their normal roles in order to provide information to the head coach, always in an organized and productive manner, including the players on the bench, the team manager, and others. This will be up to the head coach, but the idea is to get the most out of the human resources that we have. And what about the head coach? Well, he's going to take the main responsibility in this analysis process. Let's see how it might work more in detail. The first step takes place before the game starts. Once it's confirmed, we need to analyze the opposition's starting 11 and try to guess what it implies in comparison with what we had expected. Secondly, we will spend a few initial minutes of the match to oversee what the opposition is actually doing from a tactical perspective. To what extent the game that we were expecting is really taking place on the field. It is important to mention that the players should be trained to do the same by their own, because we are going to analyze the game for them, but they need to be aware that we are just coaches and not soothsayers. Things can change. Furthermore, the opposition might try to surprise us by changing some of their initial plans. Therefore, everybody, players and coaches, should have the analytic capacity to read the game and understand in what sort of match we are currently involved. The communication between the head coach and the rest of the people involved in this analysis will depend on how the head coach wants it to be organized. This is a key aspect, since the more we listen, the better, but too much information can be overwhelming. The head coach needs to ensure that the protocols lead the whole process to an efficient outcome. This will depend a lot on the personality of each person. Some head coaches will need to stay more isolated during the game and therefore will need to be more restrictive regarding the communication channels, whereas some others will want to leave them open. And there are no right or wrong ways. The important thing is that the head coach knows what will work better for him. As we said, in this course, we are focusing just on analysis and not on decision-making processes. But obviously, after each one of the initial two steps, the head coach can make decisions and change things if necessary, and according to their coaching style and to their ideas. What people are going to be involved in the decision-making process is also something that the head coach needs to decide, because it should include a reduced number of people for efficiency reasons. Once we have roughly reassessed the squad that we have in front of us, we need to work towards two different goals in parallel. On the one hand, leaving behind any expectations, we need to see what is actually happening in the game. And on the other hand, during the first half of the game, we need to prepare the information that we are going to provide during the halftime. Let's talk more in depth about the both of them. In a macro approach, we need to match the structures of the two teams, as we explained in the third part of the course. Understand where the main spaces are and how they are being managed, the general superiorities that are actually happening or that can potentially happen, and what the main scenarios of the game are. We are in the game, live. Therefore, we need to do all of this in a very quick manner, using what we see and also the information that our colleagues are providing us with. We might not have time to reflect about every single aspect of the game, but it's not necessary. We just need to identify those aspects which might have a direct impact on the match. From here, we will need to deepen through a meso approach more in detail, only in those patterns that we consider as very relevant for the outcome of the game. We need to be very selective in this part of the analysis. In this case, the way each team is able and is trying to generate superiorities will be key. And even more important, what such situation of superiority looks like from our team's perspective. For example, if the opposition is finding a decisive quality superiority in their wingers and they are killing us this way, how can we look at this from our perspective? I mean, forget about their wingers. They are what they are, and we shall not change that. Let's focus instead on the things that we can control. How is our current strategic plan and our current behaviors supporting these unwanted situations? This can involve both individual and collective answers, and such analysis will lead us to a more efficient decision-making process. This nuance may be the most challenging task in this analysis, but if we are able to do it, we will be analyzing the game, focusing on the things that we can control with a very pragmatic approach. Any decision making from us or from the opposition, any goal, or even any scoring opportunity can mean a turning point. The game can be absolutely different after them. Once more, the head coach, supported by their coaching staff, will need to be aware of these turning points and reassess the game after each one of them. As we have seen before, the statistics can flag for us some potential threats or opportunities, and they might also be of help in order to approach the analysis of the game from a more objective perspective. For example, in these numbers, we can see that from the ball possession perspective, we are keeping the game under control, taking or allowing minor or non-risk. The number of turnovers, along with the immediate recoveries after loss of possession, are very good, as well as the number of attacks in open spaces that we are allowing in our own half. However, if we aim to create any scoring opportunities, we have an issue. The total number of first-degree unbalancing opposition is very low. That is the number that might concern us the most. But we will find the potential cause in a different number, since although we are able to split the opposition's line quite often, second-degree unbalancing opposition, we reinstate the opposition's line also very frequently. This means that we split the lines, and after that, we are not able to move forward, but we go back again frequently. We avoid turnovers, but we face trouble to create scoring chances too. Just with that, we can see that these numbers are carrying a message that will help us to perceive the reality in a more objective way. Another example, the number of first-degree unbalancing opposition situations in this case is the same, but the origin of the problem is different, and it lies in the numbers that I have highlighted in red. In summary, in this case, we are failing when trying to progress. It is a different picture of the game that might lead to different conclusions and to different decisions. The images sent from the stands to the bench can be very helpful for the head coach to rewind and go over a key play of the game again. How many times we have thought, oh, I would like to watch that again because I need to see the details to understand what really happened. Well, now we can. On the other hand, during this first half of the game, we need to prepare the information that we are going to provide during the halftime. For me, this is within the strategic decision-making process, but the analysis process that we have just described stands behind it. So we will look at the preparation of this halftime talk from that analysis perspective. Only the people included in the decision-making process will get involved in this preparation of the contents for the halftime, but the person who is tagging the game live will be supportive in this task, since the head coach or the other people involved in such preparation of contents for the halftime must ask him for specific clips or graphics to be shared with the players during the talk. It should be this group in charge of the decision making who ask the analyst for such final information and not the opposite. And I say this because sometimes the full responsibility to select these clips lies on the analyst. Well, in my opinion, at the end of the day, it is the head coach who needs to make the final decisions and take the final responsibility for what information is shown during the halftime. It is not a matter of just showing some images during the halftime, but it is being very selective because we are meant to show the very key aspects of the match in a very limited time frame. The organization of the halftime talk is out of the approach of this course, but as a general recommendation, I would focus not on the things that have happened during the first half, but what we need to do on the second half. If we bring some stuff from the first half to the halftime talk, it has to be because it's going to be relevant for the second half. In the second half, a new phase of the game starts, and once more, we all, coaches and players, need to reassess the game. Potential substitutions from the opposition side, tactical modifications, and in general, check out if the tactical dynamics and behaviors of both teams have changed in comparison with the last part of the first half. From here until the end of the match, we will focus on our analysis process, followed by a decision-making action when required. In this part of the game, there are three aspects that have always been present, but that during the second half are even more relevant. Firstly, the turning points, since they are more likely to happen now. Secondly, the potential contextual superiorities. Again, they are more likely to happen now in any of its forms. For example, physical or mental fatigue, or if there are injured or booked players on the field. And lastly, in the second half, we don't need to prepare the script for the halftime, but we will need to do something similar for each one of our substitutions. And this will include the information that we will provide to that specific player, but also any other messages that we want him to give to his teammates. For this, as we did for the halftime, we can use images sent directly from the stands to the bench. Well, it's been a pleasure to reflect about the football analysis in all its forms and share these ideas with you. I hope you have enjoyed the course, and I would like to encourage you to move forward in two different directions. The first one, watching as many football games as possible with an analytical approach, because practice is the best way to see more and earlier. And secondly, improving your general football knowledge over and over, mainly with conversations with other colleagues and also reading and watching tactical contents. All the best in your football career. Thank you.